The following episode may contain inappropriate material. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mattalk. John, my confidence man.
Yes?
We should try to get $25,000 out of people.
I think I would not be very good as a con artist. I just feel like I would feel bad. Like, I think I could do it, but then I'd feel bad later. You know what I mean? Like, my conscience would not leave me alone, and I'd feel bad that I ripped somebody off. You know what I mean?
Dude, I'm the same way. I'd feel awful. And plus, I'm not that, like, yes, I can be quick-witted, but I am not that guy that can be that smooth to pull off something like that. Ocean's 11, you know how smooth everything went, and how smooth Brad Pitt's character and George Clooney's character was? Yeah, that's not me.
No.
Well, I'm more like the guy that was sweating in the van watching the cameras.
And well, for me, you know, I don't like owing people money. So that is, to me, that would be another kind of aspect to me not being a very good confidence man, which I did not know that's what that word confidence man, that's what a con man, that was a long version of it. Andy Griffith taught me something on this episode.
I didn't know that, but I'm glad you learned that.
There you go. All right, so how are things before we get rolling with this episode? Things good in the world of Jason?
They're going well, I guess. Yeah, my daughter turned 16 in 9 days.
You're not excited for her to be driving? Is that what that face was all for? He made a face.
So, John, I'm sure that time is still moving at a relatively slow pace for you. But once you have a child, the time just doubles, and it goes so fast. It's like you're watching your life at 3 times speed.
Oh, okay.
Kylie is 16, which means I'm old, and I don't like being old.
You don't look a day over 31.
Thanks, John. I thought you were going to say, you don't look a day over 52. Which is what I totally would have said to you, so...
I was being a kind co-host this week.
Or you don't look a day over dead.
All right, well, let's talk about somebody that might be a day over dead, and that would be the poor victim of a crime on this episode of Mattalk. The episode that we're going to take a look at here is certainly a unique one. So, Jason, without any further ado, should we get into our opening statements?
Yeah, why does the dead dude's name have to be Jason?
Well, I was afraid that you were going to have a little bit of a problem with that. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our opening statements. The episode that we are going to take a look at is called The Con Man. The original air date was November 7th, 1989. And Jason, we have a packed list of guest stars. So without further ado, let's start off with the first one that I know you're going to already have researched, and you know exactly the highlight that I'm going to say for this man. But up first is David Burney, who will be playing the role of Jack McCarthy. You may know him from his time on St. Elsewhere, playing the role of Dr. Ben Samuels. You may also know him as John Quincy Adams in the Adams Chronicles miniseries. Officer Frank Serpico on the television version of the film Serpico. But Jason, you probably know him best as being the husband of Meredith Baxter Burney, the mom on Family Ties.
I didn't know that.
Oh, see, I thought you would have known that one. I thought that one would have clicked for you.
No, and he's passed away.
Yes, he has.
That's unfortunate. Poor guy. He looks like he quit acting back in 2007. But John, you buried the lead with him. He was Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Return of the Jedi, the original radio drama.
You know what? I did see that but I overlooked it because I was concerned that there was a television project based on Serpico the movie. Because, look, ladies and gentlemen, hot take Orlando here. Serpico the movie with Al Pacino? Meh.
Yeah, John has a lot of hot takes, ladies and gentlemen. So any hate that you have, please email us at benmattalk@gmail.com. I love reading it to John.
First of all, I would say let's not send hate via the email address. Let's send love and appreciation. And you can also find us on Twitter at Mattalk_podcast or on Facebook at Mattalk Podcast. Look, I just don't see what everybody raves about with Serpico. Like, it's supposedly this great movie. I don't get it. I think it's subpar at best. Well, and the fact that they made an actual TV series out of it just baffled my mind. All right, let's move on to our next guest star. Our next guest star is Patricia Charbonneau. She will be playing the role of Maddie Medford. You may also know her as, well, Carol Sternberg on Wise Guy, Iger Thorson on Crime Story, Elaine Morris on Sequest 2032. She was also the technician in RoboCop 2. And Jason, she was a narrator for an episode of one of your favorite shows.
Fact or fiction.
That's right. Beyond Belief, fact or fiction. Any other highlights you want to give us about Patricia?
Yeah, she was on one of my favorite rom-coms of all time, and that is She's All That. She played Lois Seiler, which would have been Freddie Prinze Jr.'s mother in that movie. I don't remember him having a mother in that movie.
I have never seen the movie, so I cannot help you one way or the other. So
she wasn't old enough to be, and she wasn't young enough to be it. I don't know, but that she was in She's All That. I need to rewatch that movie. I love that movie.
All right, well, let's move on to our next guest star. It's James Eckhouse, who plays the role of Brian Davis. You may know him as Judge Sims on Days of Our Lives, Walter Kermani on The Good Wife, Senator Boyton in The Avengers, and as Jim Walsh on Beverly Hills 90210. I think he was the most familiar. Like, when I saw him, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's Jim Walsh, most definitely.
Nice.
Now, on to your least favorite named character, Jason Edmonds. Let's talk about the actor John Sharon, who plays the role of Jason Edmonds. You may also know him for his role as Lieutenant Finn on Hunter, Sheriff Mitchell Dowd on Brett Maverick, Evan Sanderson on The Young and the Restless, and Roger Forbes on the soap opera Loving.
Dude, this entire cast seems to have passed away because this guy's passed away as well.
Yeah, you know. No, wait a minute. Is it Patricia Charbonneau? She's still alive, I believe.
Yeah, no, she's still alive.
Okay.
This dude died April 9th, 2017. It looks like he quit acting back in 2006.
Well, our final individual we need to highlight is Philip Sterling, playing the role of Kenneth Roberts. Now, you may know him from two previous episodes of Matlock. He was Thomas Fremont in season 3, episode 4 of The Mistress. And The Mistress was the episode, if you remember, Jason, where there was a woman who suspected her hubby of cheating on her. And then her mistress shows up in court to testify, but then she goes missing, and Julie and Ben have to go to the country to go find this. Remember that episode? Because they're way out in the sticks, and they have the general store where the band is playing on the steps of the general store and all that.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Philip was also in season 1, episode 4 of The Affair, and he played the prosecuting attorney. And you remember this one because you love this episode, because this is the episode where you had the maid that was accused of killing the husband, and it's the one where she, according to you, ran around all night holding on to the knife and totally contaminated the crime scene, which I believe is the first time that happened and the first time you ranted about how stupid people were if they contaminated the crime scene.
Yes, he was also in Perry Mason, The Case of a Musical Murderer, and Murder, She Wrote.
Oh, what? We have a hat trick! Woo!
Yep, and this poor bastard died in 1998. This is a sad episode, John. I don't think we've had that many deaths in an episode.
No, I don't think so. You are correct, sir.
And plus, this episode features a bunch of people that have passed on, including Andy and Clarence. And you forgot the other special guest star, Nancy Stafford.
She's not a guest star. She does finally show up in this episode because in episode
is her first appearance of the season, right?
Second, I think she was in the first, one of the first episodes of season 4. But yeah, Nancy Stafford has been MIA, but finally Michelle Thomas comes back into the fold, and I'll have some strong words about that in a few minutes. But nonetheless, Jason, I have a question for you. I need you to give me an opinion, your opinion, and solely your opinion. So help you. Can you do that for me?
I can, John.
Then it's time to testify.
Testify! Testify!
The plot of this episode, ladies and gentlemen, is Ben is forced to come to the rescue of a friend who has been swindled out of money by a con artist and then accused of murder. Our opening scene, we see a lady jogging in a nice park, and right behind her, a few meters behind her, is another gentleman who is jogging. And then out of nowhere, someone jumps out of the bushes and attacks the lady, who, by the way, is Maddie Medford. The attacker is Jack McCarthy, and the individual that saves the day is Brian Davis. So our next scene has Brian and Maddie chatting at her place. Okay, Jason, am I permitted to rant for a moment here?
Sure, John.
Am I the only one that found it weird that you just got attacked by a strange man in the park, then you invite another strange man to come on back to your house to thank him by giving him a cup of coffee?
No, isn't that how it's done?
No!
I'm being sarcastic.
No, indeed, I thought this was very, very, very weird. This setup was I mean, I get why they did it, but I thought there would have been a better way, a more creative way that they could have done it. Well, the phone rings, and it's Jason, and he's got some stock tips for Maddie, and Maddie talks to him and then tells Brian all about it, and Brian seems somewhat interested. So the next scene we see, Brian is at his office, and Maddie shows up with some news about how much money she made for Brian through her friend Jason. And basically, Jason's doing insider trading, and which is illegal. You cannot do that. If you have knowledge of certain transactions happening between major companies, you cannot act upon it. Would you ever try your hand at insider trading?
No, man. All the same reasons I gave earlier for why I'm not a con man.
I will just say this. I don't understand how stocks work. Like, I'm very confused by them. I have some, but I look every month and just go, oh, yay, there's more money in the account, or boo, there's less money in the account. I don't really mess around with them.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. I mean, I have stock in the company I work for, but I don't even know how to look and find out how I'm doing. I just wait for the emails they send out to tell me how I'm doing.
Okay. All right. Well, that's still something. You're at least keeping somewhat of some tabs on it.
Yeah.
Maddie ends up suckering Brian into the scam, and she uses some of her feminine charms, if you know what I'm saying, Jason, to get him to get into the fold, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does.
Yes, she does. Brian made $2,500 in one day, and Maddie reveals that there's a new merger soon, and so Brian can get in for $25,000, for $25,000. So Brian and Maddie arrive at Jason's office and find him dead. And the cops are coming, so they escape down a staircase. And basically, the briefcase has the $25,000 in it, but Maddie's like, look, you can't, it'll look suspicious, get rid of it. So Brian puts it in a trash can with the idea of coming back and getting it in a few moments once everything is cool. But what happens, Jason, to that briefcase?
It's taken by another guy.
That's right. It's taken by Jack. He swipes it. And so we get a scene where Maddie is not home, and Brian is waiting for her because he wants some answers, man. Brian follows them to a bar, and there's the whole entire crew, everybody. Jack, Jason, Maddie, some random goons as well. And so Brian kind of breaks up the meeting, and indeed we learn there's no stock merger. There's no companies out there trading stocks and that. It's all a scam, man. It's all a scam.
Yeah.
And so then we fast forward to our next scene where Jack and Kenneth Roberts show up at Jason's office, and they find Jason dead. And the exact same deal happens. Sirens. They escape down the stairwell. Kenneth puts the briefcase in the trash can. But before anybody else can grab it, such as Maddie Medford, Brian swoops in and grabs it and says, "Ha ha, I gotcha." And he says something to Maddie as she catches him leaving with the briefcase, and basically, says, well, this is somewhat of getting my money back, et cetera, et cetera. So Maddie runs up to Jason's office, and this time, he real dead, as I wrote in my notes. And Maddie called the cops. Jason?
Again, we got what we've been expecting from this season. And yeah, I'm still liking that aspect of this show.
What aspect? That it takes Ben a little bit of time to become fully involved in the case?
That we get involved in the case prior to me.
Okay.
That we get to meet some of these players.
Well, at police headquarters, Ben is interviewing Brian. And apparently they had some type of connection because Brian's father knew Ben, and that's the whole family connection. So Ben says, hey, look, there's 90 minutes that your whereabouts are, unconfirmed. And, Brian says, well, I didn't kill Jason. Yes, I had to go into the office early because they said sometime between 3 and 4. I was there 2:30, et cetera, et cetera. But I really like this. But Ben drops the news. Well, Maddie Medford has turned state's evidence and gets full immunity because she's going to cooperate. I don't think we've seen that before. Have we, Jason?
No, I don't think we have.
I don't think we've ever had somebody that flipped, so to speak, which was a nice wrinkle. I liked it.
Yeah, definitely different.
So we go to a scene in Jason's office where Detective Bob Brooks is there, and we discover that all of the equipment that was in there was maybe not 100% legit. So Ben, in the next scene, goes to meet Jack, and he goes into the bar, and the bartender plays dumb, but then Jack's like, you can come talk to me. And I like the smart aleck comment from Jack, nice suit.
Wait, hold on. Let's go back to that real quick. So, usually in those deal situations, it's, a deal for a conviction. So if they don't get the conviction, that means her deal goes out the window, right?
I believe so. Correct. Yes.
All right, continue.
I mean, I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% on that statement, but I believe from other shows that I've seen, that if it's pending that particular, it's like a reward, $25,000 if somebody is arrested and convicted. So if they're, if they don't meet those criteria, you don't get the cash. You know what? Again, man, we need to find a lawyer to come on and chat with us because we have so many legal questions. So many.
Yeah, we might have to revisit the pilot with the lawyer.
Maybe. So Ben chats with Jack, and Jack is not shy about the fact that he's a con artist, and I kind of like that. I kind of thought that was an interesting twist as well.
Jack is very open, too open.
Maybe too open, indeed. Well, he's open to hanging out with some pretty ladies, as in our next scene, Michelle Thomas. She accidentally hit his car in the parking lot, his car being, of course, Jack's, as she is sent to get some information. So, and boy, oh boy, she is looking fine. And Jack, he's one smooth operator, is he not?
He is trying to be, for sure. He wants Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's the kind of lady who could openly date a con man.
Oh, no. She has too many morals. Michelle Thomas would never, ever soil her hands with such scum and villainy. Well, Maddie chats with Ben, and Maddie is quite upset about Jason's death, and she gives the alibi of where she was during the time of the murder, and then she throws Ben out, which I was like, oh my. Meanwhile, Jack and Michelle have a drink at the bar, And Jack is putting the moves on Michelle. Tells her, hey, babe, you're going to have dinner with me tonight. Why? Because you know you want to. Later on, Michelle and Ben are going to interview Kenneth Roberts. And Michelle admits that Jack is charming. Jack is endearing, He's got some of that machismo, that makes it hard to resist him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Kenneth is quite defensive at first, but then once he understands what Ben and Michelle are there for, he kind of settles down, and he basically crushes Jack's alibi because he said basically he was with Jack the entire time except for when he had to go to the bank to get the money.
Yeah.
So Michelle and Jack have dinner, and Jack talks about his ring that he stole from a mark, that like as a con man, you always take a trophy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And again, more pouring it on, man. Just more. Hey, babe.
Another way con men and serial killers is similar.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, hey, babe. Let's go back to your place for coffee. No, I can't. I have guests. We'll go to my house. Jack is pouring it on, as I said before. So we get to a scene outside of Jack's house, and what do you know? Michelle goes to admit that she's a lawyer that works for Ben Matlock, and guess what? Jack already knew.
Of course he knew. He's got to play. When you're a con man like that, it's almost like when you play chess. You got to look at all the angles 4 steps ahead of everybody around you, or your con it's not gonna work.
That's right. Absolutely. He does his homework. Michelle demands, after they kiss, she demands to be taken back home. And so, indeed, Jack does that. And as Jack and Michelle leave, guess who shows up?
The man.
The man himself. That's right. Conrad McMasters. And he is impersonating somebody that works for the gas company. And he gets keys from the landlord to go into Jack's house, which I believe this would be illegal. This would not be a legal search. Again, not a lawyer, but I think that this is not on the up and up, Jason. So Conrad shows up at Ben's office and he says, hey, man, I found out one thing from my little search that I did of Jack's place. On a certain day at like 6 p.m., Jack calls San Francisco, California, almost every single week, I think. I think it was a week. Was it week or daily? I think it was a week, wasn't it?
I thought it was daily.
Yeah, I think it is daily. You're right. So that's something interesting. So we go to the courtroom. Maddie's on the stand. She's explaining her role in the con as well as her encounter with Brian in the stairwell. Conrad sneaks up in a scene and whispered something in Ben's ear. Jack is put on the stand. Jack has an alias of Leonard Mathis, and he's well known by the San Francisco PD, and especially Sergeant Higgins.
Yeah, he is.
And the ATL police, the Atlanta police, they know him quite well too. And so Ben explains what the send is, which is basically where the con artist has the mark, go get the money, all right, for the con. During the send, we find out Jack was with the Atlanta police because as part of his plea deal in San Francisco for a previous case, he acts as an informant for the Atlanta PD. Now, Jason, I have a problem with this. Do you?
No, not really.
Dude, come on. You're buddy with Bob Brooks. You weren't given this information right out of the gate. Hey, he's an informant of ours. No one from the Atlanta PD thought they should clue in Ben Matlock in advance that this guy is an informant.
Maybe they were hoping Ben wouldn't find out because the whole point, they usually don't want informants to get figured out.
Yeah, but still, there's got to be. There was another episode where somebody else was an informant, and they had paperwork showing that they were, like working with the PD. I felt this was a kind of a giant plot hole. That I think that somebody would have said, "Hey, man, we need to clue you in that this guy's on our payroll." But nonetheless, there's a bunch of awkward looks as the scene ends between Jack and Michelle, Ben and Kenneth. And I think this tipped off the revelation of who the killer was. Did you figure it out at this scene, Jason, or did it take you a little bit longer to figure out who the killer was?
I thought that Jack was a little too easy of a target So when that whole window of opportunity came up, I figured the other guy. That's when I started to suspect the other guy. I'm like, because they're trying too hard to point us in this direction. So I think maybe we're going in this direction.
Jack, forced to do so because of his plea deal, meets with Ben, and they explain this whole idea that there was an ID bracelet missing. And another thing is that the stock abbreviations could be initials of who the marks are. And so we go back to the courtroom, and this time Kenneth is on the stand. And he has moved to Atlanta just about 3 months ago. Everything he owns is rented, his house, his car, his furniture, etc. Ben suggests that Kenneth drove to the park to meet Jack. And he thinks that he purposely set things in motion, all right, so that he could get on the inside of the con. Makes sense, right? And basically, Ben has this piece of proof that shows that the money, the $25K, was withdrew the day before. It was not during the send. And that indeed the symbols on the computer in the office of Jason were indeed the Mark's initials. Kenneth's son was swindled by Jason and Jack and the rest of the crew. And as a result, he committed suicide. And so during the send, Kenneth goes into the office and shoots Jason. And Kenneth took a trophy, the ID bracelet, from the crime scene. But the ID bracelet was actually the son, who I think his name was Peter, the son's ID bracelet. And what do you know? Kenneth is wearing it while he's on the stand. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Kenneth Roberts was the murderer. But before we close up shop, Jack tries one more time to get with Michelle. In fact, he's got trinkets and he's trying to lay it on thick that he's now a reformed guy and maybe there's something for them, and she ain't having it, is she?
Nope.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Jason, do you have any other notes or anything else you want to talk about real quick?
No, I don't think so. But it's always the freaking the trinkets that the criminals take from the crime scene that ruins it for them.
Absolutely. We've seen it time and time again in various different crime dramas and other TV shows. All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to get into our closing statements.
This is a part of the podcast where John and I rate the show on a gavel system. 1 gavel means that we did not like it. 5 gavels means we loved it. -10 gavels means we're done with the podcast. John, how do you rate this episode of Matlock?
All of our...
It's fair, right? If it's -10...
No, it's -10. We should just call it quits. We should hang up the white suit, and yeah. And I think a lot of our fans would be upset if indeed we did get a -10. I gave it 4 gavels. I really liked the episode. I thought that Philip Sterling and David Burney were very good at acting in their roles. I thought it was great motive. You know me, I like a little bit of a revenge tale, and this was clearly a revenge tale. I like that there was a new hurdle for Ben, even though they really didn't do anything with it, but there was state's evidence that was, Maddie's not going to be touchable, you know what I mean? Because she's got immunity. So I like that. The negatives, I did not really like the beginning of the con, as I mentioned, with Brian and Maddie. I just thought it was too ridiculous that, you just got attacked by an unknown male. An unknown male saved you. Now you're going to hang out with an unknown male? I didn't buy it. And I also kind of didn't enjoy pimping out Michelle again because, I know it's better than your daughter. See season 1, but yeah, I kind of didn't dig that. But anyways, so what say you?
I'm going to agree with you on the rating, but for some reason, I don't know if it's just because I've been so tired today or what, but this episode was not keeping my interest. So I don't know what it was about it, because it had everything that I've liked of this season so far. It has the elaborate setup, letting us know who the characters are. We got to the court case. Like, everything was fine. It's just, for some reason, this episode just didn't grab me. Also, I probably would have rated it higher.
Well, it is one that has been frequently repeated on MeTV, because when it started, I'm like, wait a minute, I think I vividly remember this episode. It's one of those ones that I think is a quote favorite, end quote, for MeTV, and they show it a lot. But no, a 4 is still a solid, rating, I feel. Again, season 4 is hitting its stride. It's going full blown, giving us what we want. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, though, next episode for Mattalk is a two-parter.
It is.
It is. I'm looking forward to that one because I think it's the one that I thoroughly rolled my eyes at. So it's going to be a good one. But so nonetheless, we both gave it 4 gavels for The Con Man.
I don't think season 4 has had my favorite episode of the series so far, but season 4 is probably the best season so far. Consistency.
I concur. You already know which one I loved. I loved the pro wrestling one, The Executioner. That was my favorite.
Of course it was. It's so easy to get John, guys. All you have to do is just do something wrestling related, and John is in. Like,
or
the Goldberg
hockey.
could have done more wrestling episodes, and John would have been sold.
Yeah. If Bill Goldberg was on that show all the time, I would have watched the Goldbergs, even though they're Philadelphia Flyers fans. That's right. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I detest the Philadelphia Flyers and the Washington Capitals.
He loves the Capitals.
I hate the Washington Capitals.
That's one thing I know about John. The Washington Capitals and Brian Lau, 2 things he loves.
It's not where I thought that was going. But anywho, shout out to Brian Lau, by the way. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's talk about our podcasting projects. Jason, what's going on with the 3 Geeks podcast?
We played a pretty solid game on Saturday. So Justin, who is one of our producers and co-host with me, he created a game where we had products, and then there was 4 reviews under the product, and then we had to guess which review actually went with the product. And then down the line, there was one where we got just the review, and then we had to guess out of 4 products. Super fun game. One of the products was a sleeve for your tablet, and the review was just, the guy ranting about how he bought it, hoping that there would be leaks in it, so it would electrocute his mother-in-law.
What?
So
how was that not taken down?
It's fun. It was, obviously a joke. But guys, check it out. It's funny.
Well, where can folks check it out at, by the way?
Anywhere that you find podcasts. Audio podcast format, just type in 3 Geeks Podcast. Go to YouTube if you want to see our pretty faces and all of that fun stuff.
You know what? Speaking of Justin, let's talk about him because he is guest starring on the PVD cast for this week. And by the way, the PVD cast is my own personal podcasting project. Justin and I talk about summer movies and which ones are our favorites. It was a fun little episode. We kind of get a little silly with the banter too, but you can expect that whenever it's Justin and myself on the airwaves, if you will. But you can check it out.
Justin's officially been invited on the PVD cast more than me.
That is not true whatsoever. That is not true at all.
It is.
No, it's not.
Not salty.
Anyways, pvdcast.com is the online home of yours truly, where you can find my podcast, or it's available through all those other podcasting places as well. Don't forget that we have an awesome project as well, the Larry Hankin Stories. It's available over at patreon.com/Larry Hankin, where you can check out all kinds of cool content that we exclusively made for this project. Folks, go on over there. I mean, seriously, if you're going to spend $5 at Starbucks for a cup of coffee, you can spend $5 to get a really cool backstage story from Larry Hankin. So with that, Jason, any other things that you want to talk about real quick?
Yes, John, you should get the domain yourstruly.com. It looks like it's available.
Okay. I'm not going to get that. I don't need any more domains.
Yours truly, and then just put a picture of yourself on there and a link to the PVD cast underneath your face.
Is it because I use that phrase quite frequently?
Yeah, it'd be funny. It'd be really funny. I'd laugh.
Okay, well, I'm all about some pranks.
Especially if you change the picture every once in a while.
Every once in a while? Okay. Well, we'll see. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say yes to that. But anyways, all right, with that then, Jason, anything else? Shall we wrap this up?
No. Good Hallmark title would also be yours truly. So,
all right. With that note, as they say in court, nothing further. The following is a joint production of the Three Geeks Podcast and John Orlando Enterprises, LLC. Copyright 2023.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.